Recording in progress.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Kennedy Road and at home and here on Consumers Road. I'm going to get started today. Today, I wanted to go over, I don't know if you guys noticed, it kind of happened, blindly. A lot of people didn't even realize because it happened over the holidays. PropTX and MLS changed some of the rules on us. They're effective as of December 2nd. So I just wanted to go over them to make sure that we all know what the new rules are and we're not doing things wrong. I was doing a quick search online and we'll do a little search in a minute. And you could see that a lot of agents haven't had this training and they're listing wrong. And there's a possibility definitely to get fined or reprimanded. So let's just make sure we're familiar with these rules, right? So the first thing I wanted to go over is who is PropTX? Does anybody know? Right? So when I say PropTX, who are they? Right? So they're a technology platform. They provide the tools and the applications to realtors and their clients to improve our real estate transaction experience. So PropTX runs Realm. As we know, we've switched to Realm. If you were in Stratus, most likely you switched over to Realm. It was very similar to that for us. That's the first platform that combines the land registry and the MLS data. So we're doing our searches in it. We're doing our land registry information. You're checking Geo Warehouse off of that, all that stuff. If you're in Matrix, the one that's synonymous with Realm would be the Core Logic. I don't use Matrix. Anybody using Matrix here? I've had a lot of people don't. I don't know. When we get so used to Stratus and Realm, Matrix just seems, I don't know, a little rudimentary. Sorry for anyone online who's using Matrix. I kind of get lost. But anyways, same thing, Realm and Core Logics. And then they also power SkySlope forms and offers. So we know that it streamlines that experience for us. Oh, someone in the line. There we go. Um, yeah, so they're powering SkySlope for us, which is where we go in to access all our ORIA forms and put our kits together to prepare our offers and do our listing paperwork and all of that. So PropTX does a lot for us. They're a subsidiary of the Toronto Real Estate Board. It's the largest MLS in Canada and the third largest in the world. So think about that for a minute. You know what I mean? I'd have to look up who the others are who are bigger than us, but I would imagine where do you think? Probably New York, yeah, comes to mind. LA, yeah, any of those big places. So sorry? No more LA. I know how sad, right? Oh my God. It's crazy. Watch it. Yeah, yeah. So PropTX MLS platform is blockchain enabled, which strengthens data management and protection. It streamlines our transaction process to create a secure, convenient, and automated way to manage real estate. So I think that's why Toronto Real Estate Board is really hooked up with it because we all know how protective they are of our information, right? It was like a big battle for them to even put out those sold statistics. When did that happen? Like 6 years ago, that was a huge thing, right? So, that's just a sort of a little bit of background of who they are. So, because they run all of that, we have to follow their rules and regulations when we're using their tools and their applications for loading our listings and doing our paperwork. So we're just going to go over some of the changes right now. I'm just going to open this up real quick. Can everybody see it online? Sometimes when I switch screens, you guys lose it online. You guys good online? Okay, I'm going to assume you guys can see it there. So new changes in the property rules. This is not really displaying very nicely. So we have enhanced standards for our listing information. So realtors are required to ensure all listing information is accurate and complete. And you might say, oh, well, that was there before. Like what's new about that? Good morning, how are you? So I don't like the way this is displaying. Sorry, I just want to kill this for a second. Go back because I want to make sure you guys can see everything. I don't know why it's displaying funny like that. Give me 1 second. Let me just open it up actually in PowerPoint to share it with you guys. Because I don't want you to miss the information on the slides there. That's why I always email it to myself to make sure that I have it ready to go. Then we open it up on PowerPoint. I think it changes the way everything displays when I open it up there online on the Google Drive. Hello. Okay. Hopefully it'll display nicely for you guys now. All right. You guys good online? You can see the slideshow, correct? Yeah, I had started and then I got a restart because my slide wasn't displaying properly there. Okay. I don't know if you guys can't see it unless you let me know. So just let me know if you can't see it. Okay. Ah, that's a little bit better. Okay. So realtors are required to
Can't see.
ensure you can see.
No.
No. Okay. Let me stop the share and come back in then. Sometimes when you switch screens a bunch of times, that happens with Zoom. So I always like to make sure. Okay. All right. You guys good now? You can see it? Three, you can
Yeah,
see
that's
it?
better.
It's good.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Perfect. Okay. So, realtors are required to ensure all listing information is accurate and complete. You might say to yourself, well, what's different about that? We always have to make sure our information is accurate and complete. Now they are saying we can't put things in our remarks like buyer to verify measurements, buyer's agent to verify room sizes, stuff like that. You can't put that in there. You can't rely on that, and they won't allow that in your listings anymore. So remember they used to say like buyer's agent to verify measurements, all that stuff. You have to make sure that your listing information is accurate, complete. You can't put the onus on someone else by putting things to that effect in your listing and in your remarks. Okay? PropTX now mandates immediate correction of any inaccuracies and has introduced rigorous standards for updating listing details. So if, I don't know, if your listing's been on for 6 months and they now have updated tax information, you're supposed to do it within 24 hours. So within 11:59 the next day, if your client can prove that they gave you that information and it's not put in the next day by 11:59, updates like, I don't know, if the maintenance fee just changed, say the board just met and the maintenance fees change. Just because you have your listing up with that information, you say, I got it at the beginning. If any changes happen to your listing, you're required to update those immediately. Mandatory fields like property taxes, title holder information, and any changes in listing status must be accurately completed and updated promptly to keep listings active. So again, for instance, say there was a tenant in the property and they moved out. Or say they rented the property, now there's a tenant in it, you know what I mean? Or maybe the listing is not showable right now because your client said, wait a minute, I'm going out of town, hold it for a week. You have to make sure that you're updating your listing regularly, suspending it accordingly, changing what the occupancy of the property is, because if other realtors complain about you, you can get in trouble for not having the accurate information. And like I said, it's the next business day. So it used to be within 2 business days. They're saying it has to be within 24 hours that this information is updated. So we used to have that grace of 48 hours. It's no longer that. It's only 24 hours. Okay.
So the room details, right? The
Yeah.
room and living room details, we can leave it blank or we need to put it.
For the sizes,
Yeah.
no, you're supposed to be having your room details in there now. I don't think you can bypass that field now.
We
I
can
think
put
for
zero.
lease listing, you still can. I can double check for you and see, but I don't know. I never leave that
No,
part
no, it
blank.
doesn't allow. It
So,
doesn't allow to do that. I understand, but if you can avoid it by putting zero, 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 something like that. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be allowed anywhere because they're saying that, I don't know. I'll double check for you about the room sizes exactly. If that's changed with the new rules, I'll double check that one. Okay, so then we're going to go on. Virtual staging. So this is a big one. Okay. Under the new rules, virtual staging that alters the true appearance of a property is prohibited for images uploaded to the MLS platform. This means digitally enhanced elements such as furniture additions to the room modifications that change the actual look of the space. So change the paint color. Maybe there's a lot of the crayon drawings on the wall from the kids. A lot of people will put, a little bit of paint over that on digital staging. This rule aims to maintain accurate, transparent representation for all listed property, ensuring potential buyers see realistic depictions of each space. So no more virtual staging on MLS. You cannot upload it. Okay.
The color changing, agent finds.
Yeah, it's a change. If they go in and they see something different than what's online, okay. And I think this is going to apply even if you take pictures, say before a tenant moved in and tenant destroyed it, and now you're going to show it, and you show the pictures before. I think this is going to apply to it as well, because you're going to see a little bit later on, because they're talking more about true depictions of what the property actually looks like. So we're not allowed to like enhance it in any way now. Okay, so virtual staging was a big one. So I just kind of went a little bit further and I did a little bit of research. So we're still allowed it on different platforms. So for instance, we're still allowed it on our personal realtor websites. We virtually stage our images on our own websites. Listing websites hosted by media vendors. So if we have, different media platforms that we're using, we can do that. We can put it on our social media. We can push it out on our email marketing campaigns. We can put it in our digital brochures or property portfolios that we create. But the only important reminder is that even though we're allowed to use it, we have to clearly put maybe a little asterisk at the bottom or a little sentence saying that they're virtually staged. We have to clearly indicate that what you're looking at, the product you're looking at, is virtually staged. Okay, so
Platforms.
we're allowed to put it on all our personal, okay, so they will not allow it on MLS whatsoever, but we can put it on all our personal platforms pretty much. We're allowed to still do it, but it's like when we do our virtual tour, you can advertise yourself in your virtual tour, but you can't upload that to MLS, right? But you can put it on your Facebook with your advertising on your virtual tour and stuff like that. But like with the virtual staging, you can pretty much do it anywhere, but they're requiring that you put that it's virtually staged. You have to notify the public that what they're looking at is virtual staging, right? Some photos may be virtually staged or something along those lines. Okay. Advertising and accurate visual marketing. So this is what I was talking about. It's not just the virtual staging. So digitally altered images, including the use of AI system or technology to create, alter, or enhance listings. They're no longer allowed in our listings in MLS. Okay. Another one, images of surrounding amenities that are not in view of the listed real estate. So a lot of people in a condo might put that there's a community center close by and a church and this grocery store plaza. You've seen everybody enhance their listings and put it that way. We're not allowed to put it that way because it's not an amenity that you can view from the listed property. Okay, so we're no longer to put those additional photos into our listings. Okay. Any personal or digital representation of persons. So you can't put your photo in there. You can't say, here's my phone number on a slide in your listing. You can't put your logo, any personal advertising, anything of that sort into your listing anymore. And then images of advertising or marketing messages with the exception of, okay, so we can't, say get your mortgage from this guy, or whatever and advertise other people, but we can put our architectural drawings in still. So for instance, you're selling some land and they've already got the permits. You can put those drawings in. You can put floor plans in. You can put maps, aerial or distance photographs relating to the listed real estate and labeled as such, right? So if you get a little drone in and they take kind of a picture of the neighborhood, you're allowed those sort of things still. Virtual office websites. So you guys, I'm sure you guys have been inundated, especially in the last year when everything switched over from in the Remax back office to KV Core. We all got hit with those VAL agreements we had to sign with Treb, and it was such a big headache for us, and everybody was having trouble filling them out. And some people had to fill them out 2-3 times before they took, right? So the virtual office websites, they really cracked down on that, right? Because we're allowed to get that IDX feed or the DDF feed from Treb to get the listings on our website. But because it's personal information, it's private information we're getting, you really have to make sure that the vow agreements are signed and you're watching the use of it. So they're doing user authentication, which, if you synced up your KV Core, this, you had to sign those things. Val must verify each user's identity through a unique login and password system. Consumer data must be carefully managed to prevent unauthorized access. So you can't be giving your clients access, for instance, right? Consumer agreement requirements. Consumers accessing MLS listings must affirm their interest in real estate services through the terms of use agreement. So have you done the save and invite for the realm for your clients? When they get it on the other end, they have to agree and then sign in and create their own unique login and password. They don't just automatically get access because you're inviting them on your realm, right? So this is part of what they've done here. It prevents users from copying, redistributing, or using data for anything beyond their personal non-commercial use. So they can't use it. You can't make your mortgage broker or your home inspector have access through Realm and then they can use it to advertise their business, saying, you want to buy this home, because they don't have that direct access unless they have their own access somewhere else. They've got a website where they've signed these vow agreements that they can't be doing that. And data protection and security. All vows must guard against data mining, scraping, and any unauthorized collection of MLS data with security measures such as firewalls and regular activity audits. So that just saves people from sort of spamming everyone, maybe grabbing all the listing agents in EO9 and hitting them with an email or something because you're collecting all that information off of MLS, right? And those sort of things. Not really too much we have to be concerned about because we usually have people doing our websites. When they do that, they know how to get the access and we sign those vow agreements. Or like I say, KV Core, we automatically got them from Treb because Inside Real Estate was pushing them out to us, making sure that we signed all that properly, right? When they set it up. But good to know in the background anyways. Okay, so pay close attention. Only realtors can access lockboxes, their codes, keys, security cards, and fobs, which has kind of always been a thing. You know what I mean? Obviously, we're not giving anybody access to the property, but they're really cracking down on it. So we must log our interaction with these security devices, which is done through a properly booked appointment and receiving the entry information via a confirmation of appointment. So I call listing agent. And I say, hey, you know what? I'd really like to get into the property today. And the guy goes, yeah, it's vacant, no problem. 1970 is the code. Go in. Okay. While you may feel okay doing that, God forbid anything happened down the line, you don't have a log of you ever having access to that property. So say you happen to get there and the owner is in the shower. The listing agent didn't realize, and he's really upset that you came in during that time and he wasn't notified. Listing agent forgot to tell him. How do you protect yourself from getting a complaint? How do you prove that you got that appointment just because you talked on the phone, right? That's not good enough. You have to prove that you've logged that appointment. The best and only way that I see doing that all the time is go into your broker bay, book a proper appointment or whatever listing or showing time that that brokerage is using. Book your appointment, get that code sent to your phone or your email because they're really cracking down that you've got a properly booked and logged appointment, right? And then, of course, the responsibility of canceling an appointment is extended from the co-op brokerage to the listing brokerage. This doesn't mean that it's the listing brokerage's fault, but before they were only holding the co-op brokerage liable. Okay, so we always were told you have to cancel your appointment, you have to cancel your appointment. But say it's your listing and someone calls and says, I can't make my appointment to the brokerage, and you get that page, but you're too busy, you're at dinner and you don't notify your client. The onus is now on you because that agent properly notified the brokerage that they were canceling. And now you're not canceling as a listing agent. They're also coming down on the listing agent as well. Okay. So you can't just say, oh, the guy canceled last minute and he didn't tell us fast. They're really cracking down on the listing brokerage as well. Okay. Requirements for individual fields. So public facing fields must display comments concerning the property only. Okay. Beautiful property, 3-bedroom, close to parks, whatever. The broker remark fields must only display comments which provide information that could impact the cooperating brokerages. So we're not putting stuff like lockbox for easy entry, offer date is this, please only bring a AAA client. None of that in your public remarks. Okay. The public remarks should only pertain to the property. Okay. Also, big thing is never ever put anything in the public that can see that'll advertise yourself. So don't put call listing agent for a showing, and put your phone number in there. I've seen some agents do that. You're not allowed to entice somebody in the public remarks, anything other than your property description for them to show the property. If they feel like calling you off of realtor.ca because you're the listing agent, great. But you cannot encourage them in the public remarks. Okay. Once available. So I'm looking at this going, once available. I think we got a little coming soon here, which I think is really good. Offer remarks field must display related, must display all comments related to the preparation and registration of an offer. So it looks like we're getting a new field soon. So I think, you know how they added some fields before? It was just public remarks, inclusions, and brokerage marks. Now we have all the other different things, what's included, what's excluded, you know, all those couple of, we're getting a field added for offer preparation. So if there's any specific offer instructions, we're going to get a new field for that. So you're going to have to put the offer instructions in there. And the content of the seller direction form is entered into this field, and the seller direction form must be signed. Okay, so we all talked about, you guys probably see it in your kit and you don't use it that often. If your seller has specific directions, for instance, I don't want to view any offer that comes in that's under $1 million, or I don't want to see anything that's not firm, or I don't want to view anything until the 15th, our offer date, nothing before, only that day of, or I'm willing to view preemptive offers. All of those have to be put in your offer field, and your seller direction form has to be signed and attached. Okay, not in play yet though. I kept on checking every day now since I created this content last week, and I haven't seen it pop up yet. So I don't know when they're bringing it, but hopefully soon. But in the meantime, you're good. I think it's a good practice just to put those in the brokerage remarks anyways, because I would imagine that offer remarks are only going to be viewable by brokers anyways, right? So I would probably be broker remarks and then offer remarks.
I have a question.
Yes.
So that seller's direction is gonna go up, is gonna be uploaded with the MLS, or it just with the kit we have to complete it?
So they're saying here that the seller direction form must be signed. So I don't know if they're going to make us upload it ahead of time, because as far as I was concerned, seller direction was signed as soon as you got into a multiple offer situation. But I
Mm-hmm.
guess I imagine they'd have to change the seller direction form a little bit, saying, for instance, like, I don't want to see a preemptive offer. Right. So this is kind of speculation on this one because I pulled it. I thought it was really interesting on all the changes, but they haven't put it in yet. So I don't know how they're going to put it into play. I know the seller direction form must be signed, but most of the time, if you guys came to me, I was always told that you don't sign it until you get into that multiple offer situation. And they say, no, you know, go back and tell everybody, you know, that I want a firm deal and, you know, to firm it up, or no, I'm not taking anything under $1 million, or anything that you want to divulge to your client. So, TBD, I guess, until they bring the field in, and I can firm that up exactly if we should be attaching it or not. Right now, it's just saying it has to be signed.
So that means we have to fill out as a standalone form along with other forms.
I think as a good practice going forward, yeah, because they're going to make this offer remarks field, this new offer remarks field. So you're going to have some direction from your seller, but they're not saying it has to be attached. It just has to be signed. I guess to prove that you had authorization to act in that way when you're doing, if anybody questions it, you could say, no, here's my seller direction form.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, we talked about the deadline changes really quickly. So we were saying that instead of the next 2 business days, they're requiring us to do any updates to our listing the next business day. But there's a change in the commissions, which I think is really good because a lot of these brokerages are making us wait and wait and wait a long time. So the deadline to pay was 10 days from the closing of the transaction, from the completion of the transaction. Now they're giving them 7 calendar days. So hopefully we'll see commissions come a little quicker. Our brokerage is really excellent. I don't know if you guys have noticed, if it's our listing, you pretty much get paid same day or the next day. You know what I mean? Not putting Stella under the gun to do that, but I'm just saying usually she's prepared and ready to go, because before closing, she's making sure you have all those forms ready and there's no delay. Then in closing, they're missing a bunch of things. There's no reason she can't cut that check, but we can't control when when you purchase something. You can't bug her for the check, to bug Stella for the check, because we're usually waiting on the listing brokerage to send it over to our office, right? So now they're requiring that within 7 days that has to happen. Before it was 10. So that's good. I mean, 10 brings us into the 2-week mark, right? 7's not so bad. The faster we get paid, the better anyways. So one of the biggest things you're going to see is that the former MLS rules are no longer in use. So anything on the new PropTX is going to supersede it. Okay. I was also reading on there. It reads really funny though, but it's like just in case anything is contradictory to RICO, RICO kind of would supersede as well because I mean they're the one that insure us. But this means and if you were familiar, and I don't think any of us were, I don't know who reads the legalese, but if you were familiar that 3 point A was this point pertaining to commissions, the numbers have changed. It's now new numbers and new categories. I'm gonna open up the MLS rules. I don't know who actually opened up the new MLS rules, but it's actually an easy read now. Before it was a hard read. Now it's an easy read because they before they get into the legalese and the points, they have everything separated by category. So it's easy to look up something really quickly. So, I'm gonna give you guys, I think on the next slide, something to scan. You can have access to it. I printed it, but it's like 60 pages. So it's good just to have a PDF version of it. So you can look it up quickly if you're not sure. And it's easily looked at because it's all categorized nicely. And it's in effect immediately, right? Because it already passed us. I think, like I say, a lot of us missed it because we were in the holiday season and we're like, what? Wait, what changes are happening? And then we hit the holidays and New Year's. But it came into effect as of December 2nd, 2024. So ironically, I was looking at some people's listings online and I was seeing a lot of people, putting up buyer to verify measurements or, different things that were incorrect. And a lot of people haven't gone over it. So when you're loading your listing, if you're unsure, just, make sure that you know what you can do, what you can't do. That's what you guys can scan to have access to this big booklet if you guys haven't had access to it yet. I'll give you a minute to scan that.
So how about the existing listing? Do we need to go and correct it or is okay?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I would say on the safe side, yeah. Because as far as I'm concerned, it's a live listing and you haven't got an offer on it yet. If you complete it after the state, if you complete an offer after the state, could they come back on you and say, hey, it still said that? I'll double check though. But I was looking at listings that were loaded like one day on the market and they still had wrong information on it.
Okay, the link is going to Google Drive and it's asking for the access. You need access.
Oh, did it? Okay, I got to give you guys access. Did I not? Hold on, let me go do that right now. There we go. Let me come out of here, stop share. I'll go and give you guys access right now, just so you guys, I won't forget. Did you guys take a read at the manual at all? To see what was happening, what was new, what's changed? December 2nd, it was in effect. Yeah.
It's on the MLS, the link there.
It should be like if you go into MLS.net, they have a link to it for sure. Yeah. Next piece. Resources. Here we go. Okay. I just want to go over now some of the things that were in place before that I think are important to note. So let me just change the access for this so you guys have access to the booklet, and then I'll go over a few of those points as soon as the internet wants to cooperate with me. Nope, it doesn't want to share it with you guys. I'm just kidding. What I'll do is, you know what? I don't want to waste the training time right now. If it's giving me trouble right now, when after training, I'll do it and then I'll resend out the link to the booklet with the training link from the video today. Okay. So let me go back here. It's be difficult now. It's okay. I want to open it right now so we can see it. Google Drive is just acting funny on me here. Hang on one second. Let me open it again. Okay, I'll wait for the computer to catch up. I don't know why it doesn't want to catch up right now. Internet's being funny there. Everything's just playing funny. Okay, so things that were in effect before that I want to make sure you guys are still aware of, that were rules before and they didn't change. They're still rules now. Okay. So I find that a lot of people, when they come, they've sat down with their clients, and I always talk about the commencement date of the listing agreement versus the date that you're signing your listing agreement. So you guys know that any listing you have has to be ready and showable. Okay. So when you go for your appointments and you go to list a property and you fill out your listing paperwork, you're going to fill out that commencement date. Oh, wait, it might work now. That commencement date is the date that it's ready to show. Okay. Hold on. I think I can open it now. The internet seems to have caught up with me. All right. Let me come back to you guys on Zoom there so I can put my share on for you so you can see it now. I think the internet was just being sticky for a minute. Okay. So right here, 3.07. Without limiting the generality of foregoing and other provisions of MLS rules, such as MLS listings shall not be accepted by the association as an MLS listing if it excludes any members from showing the property. So if you are saying, oh, I'm only showing like my brokerage right now, or, it's an exclusive listing for only agents in Toronto to show, you know what I mean? Something like that, you're not allowed to put it up on MLS, right? If it excludes any members from acting as cooperating brokerage, so I mean, if you're trying to double lend and you're purposely not letting people in because maybe you want to double lend with your brokerage or your buddy or your what a business partner or yourself. We all find these agents that kind of shirk around, they can't show it today, they're busy, you can't show it tomorrow, although they're painting this, that. Any listing loaded live on MLS has to be a showable property. Okay. So we talk about that commencement date versus the date you're signing your listing agreement. When you're sitting there for your listing, get the paperwork signed. Okay. The reason they specify a commencement date is because if your client says to you, oh, you know what? I can't start showing till Saturday because my husband's going to paint and we're going to mow the lawn and, different stuff like that. You say, okay, no problem. So then what we'll do is we'll sign the paperwork today, but I'll put the commencement date for Saturday because I cannot load your listing up on MLS unless it's a live and showable listing, right? But in the meantime, I can put my sign in the lawn. I can put my coming soon. I'll get the calls. We'll start advertising on social media. But as far as MLS is concerned, that's the only thing I'm allowed to do. Okay. What else do you hear? The tax information. So where realty taxes are required to appear on MLS system as a mandatory field, the amount to be shown shall be the current year's annual taxes, if not available, the prior years. So you've noticed they only let us put 2020, now 2025 or 2024, right? It's only this year or the previous year. Why do they let us do the previous years? Because a lot of people might not have their tax bill yet. We're early in 2025. By the time you're, sunk into about 6 months, 2025, most people should have the 2025 information. So try and source that from your client, because if the buyer can prove that information was readily available, our new PropTX rule says what? That we have to have that updated in our listing. So even if I loaded something now for my client and I only have 2024 taxes, and then, it's up for 6 months and I haven't been able to sell it because it's a slow market or it's, up north somewhere, and they get updated property information, I have to make sure I'm gathering that information. Like, did you get your new 2025 tax info and update it on the listing? When you have, for instance, a condo that hasn't, like an assignment sale or a condo that taxes You don't know what the taxes are yet. What are you supposed to do for your listing? Does anybody know? So the only time they will allow 0 in that field, you can't put 0 if you don't know what the taxes are, but you see some listings do that. The only time you are allowed to put 0 in that field is if the taxes have not been assessed yet. And then you have to put asterisk and put it down in the comments saying taxes have not yet been assessed. So only if the city has not provided your owner with that information, that's the only time you're allowed to put 0 on your listing for that. Yeah, yeah. It's for the pre-construction. If they haven't been assessed yet and you don't know what it is, then, right? Okay. This 3.10 was another one. It was a rule before, but I thought I'd just go over it again because a lot of people try to double list and triple list things. I don't know whether it's, look like you have a lot of listings or whatever the case may be. There's very fine rules on what you're supposed to list multiple times, right? So only one MLS listing for one trade function signed by the same seller may be placed on the MLS system at any one time. So the following examples are what considered separate trade functions. So if you have a listing for sale and a listing for lease, you're allowed 2 listings. If you have furnished or unfurnished lease, you're allowed to put it up as 2 different listings. Or if you have sale by property owner and then a power of sale comes up, from the bank, then 2 are allowed on the MLS system. Okay. I think maybe they went over at some point too. Sometimes you see 2 listings too, if people have loaded on 2 different boards, but that's not MLS that you're looking at. That's on the realtor.ca side. So if I load in Toronto on the Toronto real estate board and I co-list with someone on Kawartha board, it's going to show up 2 times on realtor.ca, right? Because everybody gets loaded up that way. So, okay. All properties that are to be traded separately shall be listed separately. So you can't put 2 in one listing saying it's this property and this property, even if you really want them sold together, if they got different pins and if they have to be treated as 2 different trades, you have to load them separately. I don't see why you wouldn't be. And all that are to be traded together must be listed together. So in the same situation, say you're in the middle of severance, but it hasn't quite happened yet. You don't have those 2 PIN or 2 assessment rule numbers. If it has to be traded together, you have to list it together unless it's ready to be traded separately. Right? And minimum trade period. What's the minimum agreement? If someone comes to you and says, you know what? Okay, fine. I'll give you the listing for a week. I'll give you for listing. If you can sell it, let's see. If you can do it for 1 week, we'll try it. No, we're not allowed. So 60 days. So I always tell my client, I'm sorry, the minimum listing period on MLS is 60 days. We can go and we can try a bid date. If in a week and a half you're unhappy, you can cancel your agreement with me, right? You can terminate your agreement with me, but you can't take a listing period less than 60 days, right? Have you guys tried any short-term rentals and had success with them online? I remember we weren't allowed to even take a lease listing less than 6 months, for the term that someone's taking it. It was a year or 6 months, but they have short term on there now. I don't know. I've never done one. Anybody had any luck with that? Okay, we talked about MLS system. They should be immediately available for showing. Lot size irregular. What are we doing for lot sizes irregular? So 3.2. Lot size of the residential property is irregular. The listing brokerage shall report the frontage and the smaller dimension of the depth and identify irregular as the lot shape on PropTX. So we should be listing those properly. I see people go in. Actually, I should pull up a geo warehouse, okay? I'm going to log in real quick. I see people go in and they'll just pick whatever the longest or the shortest is. So if you don't have something that's perfectly rectangle, that's like 10 by 10 on either side, and then, I don't know, 20 by 20 for the frontage and the back part of the lot, and they load it, that's fine. But if you have something that's 10 by 11, and then 10 by 10 across the front and the back, and you load it but it's 10 by 11, it's incorrect. So you're supposed to be putting irregular lot. And sometimes they say 0. So I'm just going to show you guys how I try to protect myself even further than what they're giving us there. We'll log in real quick. Let's run out of time real quick. I don't feel like I've been talking for an hour almost. 6. I hope you guys are going every single time you list or prepare an offer into your geo warehouse. It's so important because you should be checking it all the time. How do you prove that if someone comes and challenges you that the information is incorrect, that you picked the correct information? You have to show them that you checked your geo warehouse. It's slow today. Anyways, while it's catching up, you're going to put that dimension. So say whatever it is, 0 by 125-foot lot, right? Then there's a space beside when you're loading a listing that says, you know, what the lot is, and you can pick a regular. And then I take the dimensions of the lot. You know, they usually spill it out. So they might say 10 and then by 11, by 25, by 17. And I'll, you know, copy and paste those all into the brokerage remarks, right? With a little asterisk, just to show that that's what the dimensions are of the lot. Internet's being funny today. Okay, so make sure you're treating your irregular lots properly. And what else? Okay, advertising people's listings, right? So what's the rule? I just wanted to go over that again quickly. We can advertise within our brokerage, right? So anybody's listening, it's still nice to send your colleague a courtesy email, right? If you want to. But you can advertise within the brokerage, but anything outside of the brokerage, you cannot approach them unless it says permission to advertise. Yes. And just because it says permission to advertise, technically it says permission to contact to advertise. So you can contact them, always get it in writing from an email saying, hey, can I advertise your property? And then you have to get it back from the listing agent saying, yes, you can advertise this property. Otherwise, you're not allowed to advertise other things in MLS, even if they're in your farm area or your neighborhood, or you worked with that realtor before, or you don't think they're going to mind. You always have to get it in writing because you can get in trouble for that. And again, our showings. You always have to make sure, aside from giving a lockbox code and letting your client go, you always have to make sure you're accompanying your client throughout that property, right? So even if you open the lockbox and you said, okay, go ahead, and you let them walk through the property, that is not a proper showing. You were supposed to be accompanying them throughout the showing. Sorry, I'm just gonna take it off the share there because that internet's not working today for some reason. You have to make sure you're walking with them through the property. So, I mean, it's not unheard of that people walk through the property and they open up a cupboard and they take something from a listing. You're liable for that, right? I always laugh because even though you walk through the property with your clients, funny things happen. You guys ever had anything funny thing happen? I was walking through a showing one time, I remember, and I was newer agent, right? I was only maybe 2-3 years in with my own license. And I walked through this property and my client grabbed an apple and started eating it from the kitchen. I kid you not. And I was like, I'm gonna get in trouble for an apple right now because these people are gonna come home and go, where'd my fruit go? Like, people are funny, you know what I mean? You can have some funny people, but definitely there's been theft happen, damage happen. If your client walks to the property and like forces open a door that was locked and breaks it, you know, you're liable for that because you're supposed to be accompanying them throughout the whole showing. So that's always been an MLS rule for us, aside from not giving them the lockbox code. Such a dangerous thing to do. You guys are going to get heavily fined for that. And I know a lot of our guys have done it, and it's such a dangerous thing to do. Heavily fined for it, you know? Lockbox codes. In addition to this, so you have to make sure that you don't disclose the lockbox code, but you also have to make sure you're protecting it properly, right? So even though you're not giving it to your client, maybe, you know, when you go into the property, I have a good habit of scrambling a lockbox code before I walk in, because the next person, you know, especially a busy one with a busy showing, the next agent waiting at the door might see the lockbox code if you don't scramble it. Writing it, you know what I mean? I kind of have a habit of doing that note, like, but I make sure I keep it close knit, but writing it on our listings, you know what I mean? Very often your client asks you for that listing. Hey, can I have that paper? And you give it to them and you've written the lockbox code on it. So I always make sure I don't give it out. You know, I don't know, different, any way you can protect it, you know, even if you say it loud while you're opening a lockbox, you got to envision that, you know, if you don't know those people very well, they could come back later and enter that property if they know that code at the end of the day. So big time on lockbox codes. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in training in the coming weeks. I'm actually going to do one on lockbox codes. You know, you should be signing an agreement with your client and putting it on their property, and they should know, you know, the pros and the cons of having a lockbox on that property. But anyways, that's sort of what was existing before, but I wanted to go over those super important ones. Do you guys have any questions about the changes that have happened? They're pretty straightforward. I mean, a lot of them is that they've shortened time. on some deadlines and stuff for us, but also in a good way, like the commissions, right? Be careful when you in your remarks, okay? Like I say, be very careful with those fields that are public facing. The public facing ones are the ones that they're really being sticky about. That you're making sure you're not putting any personal information on there, nothing pertaining to the offer process, nothing pertaining that should be a broker remark that only another broker should hear. We're bonded and insured for a reason because a lot of the information we have on MLS is private information, like occupancy and who's on title, commission structure, stuff like that. So you got to make sure that we're being really, really private about that. Everybody good?
And then the washroom, what's the rules with the washroom? I know, cause last year my listing on the washroom, some people like use it, but then they don't like.
Oh my God. Okay, so you are not supposed to be using the washroom in any of your showings, right? Your clients, yourself, you're not supposed to be doing any of that. You're not supposed to be using any of turning on their sink and washing your hands. Because especially during COVID, people really cracked down on these things. We weren't even allowed to touch light switches. I don't know if you guys remember during COVID, a lot of people, the rule was if you go for the showing, the lights were on, don't touch it. You know what I mean? And then sanitize the lockbox on the way out. But yeah, you're not supposed to be using any of the amenities. You're viewing the property. So I mean, something within reason, like opening a closet door to check the space in the closet, but then closing it respectfully. But yeah, definitely you're not supposed to be using any of their amenities. Yeah. Don't start the washing machine, wash your clothes, or take a dip in their pool. Soak in their hot tub in an hour to check it out during your showing. So anybody online have any questions? Like I say, going forward, it looks like they're still going to change some things. Like they're going to add a offer field, and stuff like that to our listings. But as it comes, I'm sure we'll go over it again the next coming weeks now, because we're coming into listing season. Listing season, guys, you guys have to focus on getting your listings. This is our bread and butter season. Now, last couple years have been a little wonky. I'm praying this year is a good year. So we're talking like starting February, March, April, May. You're going to make the majority of your sales during this time, right? Most of our listings are coming out of this time. Once we hit summer, slow. Everybody's enjoying summer. Then we get a little bit of a rise in the fall market, and then your year is done. So these next couple months are when you really need to push it and be pushing for your listings, pushing for your sales, getting all your business, hitting your target. Most of your target for this year should be done in the next 4 months or so. So really get a push on these listings. And yeah, if you guys need me, you know where I am. Everybody good online? Awesome. All right, everybody have a lovely week. Sorry.
Last thing I think it was,
Sure.
yeah, I think people said, yeah, the main thing is a lot of people do the buyer has to verify the measurements. and
You're
stuff.
not allowed anymore.
Yeah.
Absolutely not allowed anymore. Yeah. Yeah.
And the phone number, you can't leave it even in the brokerage remarks, right? Like your phone number, your personal.
Your phone number is already on the listing.
Yeah.
You're only allowed to put it if there's additional brokers involved,
Yeah.
that you can't fit because you can only fit 2 brokers on there, right? On the listing. Yeah. Awesome. All right, everybody have a lovely week. I will talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.